So today's the big day, going for my inspection. I do have the week off, so if I fail, it's okay. I got time to fix it. So hopefully we'll be legit on the road today. I've got my in-transit pass, which in Alberta you need that in order to drive an unregistered vehicle on the road. I've got my insurance in my pocket. Got my toque on because it's 5 degrees Celsius out this morning, so that's pretty cold. Do the math, like 40 Fahrenheit-ish. Took it for a test drive last night, out on the road. Went pretty good, had a little fender rub on the driver's side, probably just because it's not corner weighted and I'm fat. So I jacked the coil over a little bit on the front. I might need to jack the back as well, but I'm sure it'll be fine for today. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Wish me luck.
Twenty minutes later. A few moments later.
I did not pass the inspection, at least not this first time. There's a few things they found that unfortunately I've got to fix before I can pass. So I'm just going to run you through them real quick. Most of it, in my opinion, bullshit. But one was legitimately a safety concern. So let's start with that one. So if we look way in here and see how the lighting is, it's terrible. We're gonna go to the other side. So if you look in here, I did not have this jam nut here. So this was actually all free to spin, and my toe was slowly changing without my knowing it. So that was an oversight on my part, and fortunately I was able to find some left-hand thread 5/8 nuts and get them on there. So I still got the other side to do for that. There was also, I had forgotten the cotter pins down here. And this is why I wanted to go to a reputable shop. Some guys I know will just take it to someone who will sign off on whatever. The problem is there's only one set of eyes seeing all this stuff. Well, I guess maybe 100 people if they watch the videos closely, but not really. You know, like nobody's really double checking my work. So I wanted to double check. So I missed those two things on the front, which are kind of a big deal. So otherwise, the next one that will, I guess, be an issue with any racing, I'm told, is my battery tie down. Now, normally the battery is supposed to go up there. There's still a battery tray if you look way in there. But I didn't want to put a giant battery in the front, so I put a little one next to the engine because the rotary is smaller, unlike the Subaru, so I had room back there. So, again, lighting's poor. Let me get my light. Okay, so there's my battery down there, and yes, that is a rubber strap going around it. In my defense, it's a rather thick rubber strap. My motorcycles use a rubber strap in the batteries, my quads. I didn't think it was a big deal, but I guess you have to have a metal or permanent, like fixed, no movement strap. The battery is quite secure. If you jiggle, if you crank on it real hard, you can jiggle it a little bit. The mechanic is concerned that my piping is actually pretty close to the positive terminal, so in a wreck, it could arc out. And you know what? That's a legitimate safety concern, and that's cool. I can make a bracket. I didn't think that was an issue, but I got no problem with that. I'll take care of it. Other than that, oh, for window defrost, I had, let me see if I can find it here. So for window defrost, I had this guy. So it just uses a 12 volt, which plugs in there. You lay this up here, and it'll spray some heat on your window. Now, the bigger question is asked is, why do I need window defrost? There's no roof. It's not a convertible. There's not a roof that goes up on it. So the temperature inside and outside the glass is always the same temperature. Now, when my inspector called, not his boss, but whoever's in charge of inspections, he doesn't want to lose his license, and I totally get that. I want this car to be legit for him and for me. So he called that guy, and that guy's like, well, what if he starts it up in -10 Celsius, right? Why would I drive the car in -10? It doesn't make any sense. My motorcycle, right here, it has a windshield, and that did not require defrost. Yet it's safe to drive. So anyway, long story short, I need to rig up a better defrost system. So it's gonna be a little backyard. It's gonna be temporary. In my opinion, unlike the wipers where they'll probably never be used, it's not a bad thing to have the wiper there, even though, again, I'll probably never use it. The window defrost, it's never going to be needed. But I got to rig something up for inspection. I also need a third high-mounted brake light, which I'm actually going to just temporarily strap one to here on the roll bar. I'm not sure that's really needed. I think there's lots of cars that don't have a high-mounted brake light. Well, my motorcycle doesn't. But that's not the point. Guy needs it. It's easy enough to rig up. I'm just going to rig up a temporary one now to pass. And I think when I do my spoiler in the back, I might actually do like they got on the Formula 1s, where it goes, you got them vertical brake lights on the wing stanchions or the wing supports. It kind of looks pretty cool when it's all lit up in the back. So I might actually look at doing that in the future. So, but the one I'm going to do now is just temporary. I bought from Princess Auto, which is Harbor Freight in Canada. What else was there? Oh, one more thing. I need a brake safety light. So I need a light that either shows that brake fluid is low or that I've lost pressure. So now the front and rear brakes operate independently fluid-wise. So even the regular reservoir from Subaru, which I'm not using, it's divided in the middle and it has a sensor. So if I was using that, that'd be great. I'm not sure using that is even an option for me, short of completely hacking everything there where that light is, all that fiberglass, which I've already hacked it all in here, so I'd rather not. As you can see, I got the Tilton reservoir. However, I talked to Tilton and they said they don't offer anything, and as you can see, it's baffled, so a float wouldn't really work in there. That was my first thought, was to get a float from like a Volkswagen or some other German cars also. They use a float in the cap itself. I was thinking I could rig that up to make it work, but it won't work with that reservoir. And I don't really want to mess with the reservoir, and I'm not sure I want to just make a temporary fix. So the mechanic suggested a pressure differential switch. It's also known as a combination switch. So I guess they used to run them on a lot of cars back in the day. I don't know that any current cars run it, but regardless, it's basically, you got 2 ins and 2 outs. So rear in, rear out, front in, front out. So when I put my foot on the pedal, if there's a difference in pressure between front and rear, meaning I got a brake line burst or there's some issue and I've lost one of the brakes, so when I brake there's a difference in pressure between front and rear, then a light comes on. So I ordered a combination switch for I don't know, some GM one that I got on Amazon that I could get next day. I didn't feel like going to Napa or any of these parts places, because then I'd have to know exactly what make and model and transmission and wiper blade size a car had before they could get me one of these switches. So I just found one on Amazon and ordered it. So I'm just going to put that probably right on the top of the fiberglass over there where the light is. And I'm just going to have to reroute some brake lines. I got to do a little reading to figure out, because I do have a proportioning valve, which the idea with the proportioning valve, if I recall, it's been like 4 years since I hooked that up, is that it's just on the front brakes so that I can reduce the pressure to the front brakes to even out with the rear. But is that going to cause my light to come on? I don't know. As for a light, I have a solution to that. So I actually put a light, if you can see right here, this is an orange light that I put in there for a battery light. I'm not sure why I thought I needed that. The idea being it turns off if the alternator is charging. You get positive on each side. I don't remember exactly how I wired it. Anyway, I wired it wrong, and the light is just always on now. So I'm going to just scrap that whole battery light idea, since I have voltage displayed on my dash, and I can just set a low voltage warning on my dash, so then I'll know if the alternator is not working. So I don't need that light, so I'm just going to repurpose that for the brakes. And that is it, I think. Otherwise, the car drove great. I'm sure at this point I've already put some video in of the car driving. It handles the road fine. I've got some fender rubbing on the driver's side in the front, so I've cranked that one up and it's still rubbing. So I'm going to crank up the driver's side in the back, just because ride height, nothing's accounted for my fat ass in the car, and I'm sure that's why that side is rubbing. Yeah, so I've got a few fixes. Hopefully I can knock them out in the next couple of days and get it re-inspected before the weekend hits, and get my plates. I do need to figure out, once I get my plates, why it keeps falling flat on its face just as it starts to build boost and go. I think I had mentioned already in a video, or earlier in this video, that I thought it was maybe my injector duty cycle, like a failsafe. It's not. I watched my injector duty cycle on the dash, and it wasn't near 100%. I'm not really sure. It could be something as simple as I didn't properly set up the wastegate or something, but it just goes from building boost like crazy to foot to the floor would do nothing, and you just hear the whoosh, right, of the blow off valve, and it just kind of resets everything. So I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it could be any number of things that I did wrong, but I'll just worry about getting through this inspection, and then I'll worry about that, because it'd be nice to do some, like, I don't want to say full pulls. She's not fully tuned. I don't have the new injectors in, but it'd be nice to do some nice pulls in boost, you know, going all the way through a gear, and just kind of see what she has, because just starting to build boost, it's ridiculously fast. So I can only imagine when it's tuned and running right. But hot starting like a champ, like no problem at all. I haven't checked compression in a while. I'll probably do that on, you know, the last drive I think I'm gonna have, and I'll just pull it in here hot and check the compression. But I don't think I'm gonna rebuild the motor over the winter. I think I'll leave it and just hope that I don't blow it up next year and then rebuild it next year, because it's time to make her pretty. We're gonna wrap it this winter. So we'll see. Let's get this license plate first.
That's not good.